Hello everyone and welcome to my introductory Python series where I will be going over some example programs that are similar but usually more difficult and I hope more interesting than the ones you got assigned in the Hyperion Dev Software Bootcamp. So in this video I will go over two tasks that if you watch and understand, you should be able to easily complete the actual required task in the bootcamp. If you have any trouble with setting up your software environment, feel free to reach out to me and I will help you. All you need is have Visual Studio Code installed, which is a text editor and IDE, which means integrated development environment, and Python. So I already have everything installed. Let's get right to it. Now I have already went and opened the folder my project materials and bootcamp and video series T01, which means these tasks will be the ones that are similar to the task 1 of the bootcamp. I created some notes here to give the problem statements and the required functions you will need. If you have any if you don't know how these functions work or have any misunderstanding, I suggest you bookmark the Python tutorial, which is at the following link. And here you will see everything, all the different built-in functions and data structures and everything in Python that you can use to write programs. It's always a good idea to use built-in functions when they are available to solve the problem you are trying to solve, because chances are other programmers know them as well. So it keeps your code concise and easily read by other people. Remember that most programs are read many more times than they are written, so it's more important to be able to understand the program than for it to work a bit more efficiently or faster and stuff like that. Essentially, we are writing programs for other people to read. Now let's jump in here with task 1. Our required functions will just be the input and print function. Now with the input function, we are reading in a string from the command line environment. So I create a new text file here. Since in the task it will need to be greeting.py, let's just do that already. So I click Control Shift S, which means save as, and I will write greetings.py. Now here, since input is a built-in method, we don't need to, or function, we don't need to import any modules or additional libraries. We just click input, run it, and see here there was a prompt waiting for us to type something, but since we didn't store this input anywhere, nothing happened. So let's print actually the input that we put in. Here you can see the print function in the same example, so this is nice. So now whatever we type should be repeated because we print out the value that input evaluates to. Now input evaluated to whatever we type, it returned it. Print function receive that input of whatever we type, and printing whatever we type causes it to print it here. Now don't worry if this is not understandable yet. Let's look at what our task is in the task 1. So we've already created our Python file. Now we need to print a prompt to inform the user about the program's functionality. So here, I will just define a function called print prompt, and I will leave it blank because we don't know yet what the program functionality is that we need, but we know we will need a function for it. So firstly, we need to ask the user to input their name. Then we need to print a greeting message such as greetings, and obviously substitute for xy the user's name, and then welcome to Python. So obviously to input the user's name, we just use the input function and we need to store it in a variable. So let's just do name equals inputs. Oops, sorry, I need to change my keyboard layout. 1 second. If you have multiple keyboard layouts on Windows, you can click the Windows button and space to switch between them, see? And I need US English. So here, input can take an argument as well. And input's argument will be printed before the user inputs a value. The reason for it is to inform the user what he needs to input, what kind of value we are looking for. So here we are looking for their name. So we will just say, please enter your name. Like this. Now it's always a good idea to test your program. You don't have to test it this often, but just if you run it, you will see that it's working and you didn't make any syntactical errors. Also, look at the syntax highlighting. That's another way where you can see if you made a mistake. Like here, if I put a comment, it changes the whole color to green, so comments colors are green. If I forget this double quote, the inside won't be red. So this is one way to check for your errors. Another one is to just run your program and test it. So here, if we enter a name like, I don't know, Joe Biden, nothing happens because we stored the value, but we didn't do anything with it. So let's move on. Print a greeting message such as greetings XY, welcome to Python. Okay, so here we will need another function, and the function's input has to be the user's name. We don't have to use functions at this point, guys, but I'm just trying to introduce them because they are really useful and important. So let's just do define greeting message, not message, let's say greeting tag. And let's just do greeting, whatever. And for the parameters of this function, we will need name because the greeting will have to change based on the name that we have. So what do we do in this function? Well, we need the greeting format string where we have some part of the text, as you see, that stays the same, like greetings, comma, space, then the name, and then comma, welcome to Python. So here we could just do return and then return this value. We don't need to store it in a variable because we won't change its value or reuse it anywhere else. So let's just do return. And for the string, we will have to use a format string. Now, if you don't know how this works, don't worry. You can either look it up in the tutorial or later on in one of the tasks, it comes up. So in the examples and the documentation, you can read about it. But just Google it and you will find out. So first, let's type in all the things that stay the same. So greetings, put dot 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 here to indicate that we need to enter something. Or actually, let's already just enter this, where in the brackets we will know that we will have to put a variable. Welcome to Python. Now, what do we need to enter here? Well, there's not many choice because the only variable we have is the name argument of the function. So just put name in here and it should be fine. At this point, we don't need to worry about like checking if they entered a valid name or anything. Just let's assume the user is intelligent and enters their name properly. Now, what's our next task? So we have to, obviously, one thing that I forgot is that here I'm just doing functions. So first I'm creating all the functions that I will need. I don't know why I left the prompt out. I kind of went all over the place and didn't read through the whole thing. So let's just do that first. So next we need to ask a user to input their birth year, print a message informing the user of their age, such as you are Z years old. Okay, so let's just clean this up a bit, shall we? Here I will put a comment saying definitions, and here I will say main, which means the main program starts executing here, because with definitions this just lets us use this new tool, this new function that we created, but it doesn't execute. To use this function we need to type greeting and Xi Jinping, for example. But we don't want to do that because we will be using greeting with the value that the user enters. Now, since definitions are here, this one doesn't belong here. So we can either define, it's a good idea to define a variable for name prompt and copy this there. So we can change this at a later date here, and we don't need to look all the way down into like a long function if it's like multiple pages to hunt for this. We keep it at the top so we know where to change all the values. Now let's just get all the functions we need first and then work through them. So we have the print prompt, we will need to design that. We have the name prompt value, which doesn't need a function because it will just use the input function with this variable, or constant rather, because we won't change its value. So next one is ask the user to input their birth year. So it's exactly the same as the name prompt, but it will be the year prompt or birthday prompt, birth year prompt. And use the same structure, enter your birth year. I don't know if this is like separated by space or one word, but we are not at a grammar course, so let's not worry too much about it. Now, once we have the birth year prompt, we need to print a message informing the user of their age, such as you are Z years old. Now, this one is a bit tricky, guys, right? Because you need their birth year, but you also need the current year. So what we could do is define birthday or rather age calculator. And we need what values here? Well, we need obviously birth year. Here I'm not separating by space because if you do, that's a separate token. So either do birth year like this with an underscore, or just leave it at one. It's a good idea to separate words by underscores because and this one becomes hard to read like this. So either do something which is called camel case. Let me show it here because this coloring is hard to see. So you can either do birth year, which is called camel case, or birth year, which is called snake case. There are a few other conventions, but these two are the most popular. Make sure you stay consistent within one file and within all your examples, and don't mix and match because it looks ugly. If you don't know which one to use or something, you can bookmark the Python style guide and read through it. And I think it will cover it. So I bookmarked not the start of the page for some reason. Here you can see this is the. So for some reason I'm at the comments, but I bookmark it. You should bookmark this actually, which is the main style guide. So actually, I find a mistake in my own bookmark. Nice. Now, okay, where were we? So birth year. Let's use snake case. Now here we could assume to only do birth year calculation in 2023. So let's just define that first. Now, obviously, how to calculate someone's age. Age equals you remove their birth year from 2022. So assuming they didn't enter something silly like 2050, they should get their real age. Now with here, we just need to return age. So the age calculator function takes in their birth year and returns a number, which is their current age. Now for the print prompt, since we haven't done it yet, let's do that next. So we need to inform the user about the program's functionality. We need a string for that, so let's just do the same thing. Actually, let's move our constants above our function definitions to stay consistent with nowhere to look for all the different kind of values. So here, let's just change our comment to constant definitions. I don't need a space here like this. And then let's do function definitions. So for the print prompt, we will use, obviously, a print prompt. Now let's do it here because that's the first one we use. So don't put it after name prompt and birthday prompt. It's not a huge problem if you do, but it's nice to go in order. So in the print prompt, well, what is the program's functionality? It greets the user and calculates their age. So let's just say this program greets the user, asks the user for their name, put a new line here, greets them, and calculates their age. Let's not put actually the ask the user for the name because we don't need to describe all the functionality or the sort of exact nuts and bolts of how this works. Just let's say this program greets the user and calculates their age. Nice. So with print prompt, we will just print. Now here we see a problem. We have the same identifier name for our function and our value. So this is not good. This will be an error, I think. But even if not, don't do this. So let's just say print info here. Like this, and it should be fine. Okay, so do we have everything, guys? I think we do. So now in the main function, let's just go by order. what do we need to do first? Well, we need to print a prompt to inform the user. So that's just the print prompt function. So we just say print prompt like this. Now, because these tasks require you to like do comments everywhere, maybe you can just write the same lines in the task problem statement, just go line by line and explain everything. You can do it above the line, or you could do an inline comment, which means do after here, like this. Let's do that actually to make our program more concise. So let's just say inform the user about the program. Now ask the user to input their name. So after this, we need to just store name and input. And in inputs argument, we will have name prompt, which is please enter your name. And let's comment it as well. Actually, let's use tabs to get to the same comment destination to make it like look good. Do I have two spaces here? No, let's. So here, prompt the user for their name. Now, if you are like later on in your programming career, you shouldn't do comments like this because a competent programmer easily understands this stuff. So this is just wasting your time and cluttering up your screen. But for this task, if you want to achieve the maximum points, you need to comment a lot. Keep that in mind that this is just a temporary thing that you will be doing. Don't think that this is how programming works. Now, next one. Actually, what's a good idea? Oh, never mind. You could like put numbers here to like make yourself easily get back to where you were. So print a greeting message, such as greetings, welcome to Python. Now, let's separate these lines by a space to make them stand out a bit from each other. So for greeting, we just do greeting and name. And what happens here is we greet the user. Now here, same thing happened earlier that you have name here and also here. So this is not a problem, guys, because there's something called local scope, which means that an identifier can be overridden in different places of the program. But in this specific instance, the reason that this is okay is that here, name is the function's parameter, whereas here, name is just a variable which we will use as a function's argument. So you can use any name for the parameter and you can reuse that identifier in your actual program as variables and arguments, and they won't cause any mix-up. But if you don't want to, don't think that this has to be the same. So here you could write anything like dog, cat, full name, but make sure these two are the same because this is how this variable gets copied over here where it needs to go. Okay, so we greeted the user, and what's the next thing? We need to ask for their birth year. So, same thing, birth year variable, and input, and use our birth year prompt, which is up here. Now, forgot my comment, but here, like really this is self-explanatory, but let's just do asks the user for their birth year. Now, see what happened here. This is important. You should enable, which is called line wrapping. I don't really know where it is. So it should be in view, I think. Appearance. Word wrap, or look for word wrap or line graph. Editor layout, maybe. Okay, so I don't find it. So what I do is I go to my search engine. I don't know why Yahoo is here. I hope it will be Google search. And I type in how to word wrap in VS Code. So here I get my answer. In the left bar, click on the manage icon. Select settings. Wait, which one is the manage icon? Oh, settings here, I guess. Manage. Yes, settings. Now select text editor. Text editor. The right side contains below options editor word wrap. So maybe I can search for a word wrap. See, so word wrap is on. Now you should have this on, guys, because that means if you don't have it on, you will have something like a line going over here and you will get a slide by down here, and it's just not good to use. But also what you could do here is just take this comment, cut it out and put it above the line. So even without word wrap, someone can see this. But now this is ugly, so let's just do it for everyone. See, this is how you are programming. You always are, kind of dynamically changing the program to make sure it's like good looking and all neat and tidy and stuff. Okay, so we got our birth here. Let's go back to our notepad. Now we just need to print the message informing the user of their age. Now, obviously we will use the age calculator for this. We could write a function to do this, and let's do that actually, because that way our main function will be really nice and simple. So let's say that define print age. Now we need the birth year here as well to be able to print the year. And here, first of all, we need to calculate the age. So we will use the age calculator from above to get this. Now, what else do we need to do? We need to obviously print the message. So we need another constant for age message. But actually, since we don't do this, because here we will need to use a format string to input the actual age. So that we need a separate function for this. So let's say define print age info. But this function's name is now similar to this, and this is not accurate because we are not just printing the age, we are calculate and printing age. So print age info, we will use age, and let's do our string. So just return, same as above in the greeting function, format string, and refer back to what we should type. So you are age years old. And now in the calculate and print age, we can have to use this function to But this is not accuracy because we are not printing. So instead of print here, say get age info. Because we are not printing anything, right? We are just simply creating from the value age the string you are 8 years old. So we need to print get age info age, right? So what I did here is first you go from the inside out. So first age, how would this line execute, guys? Let's go over it. So first the value age gets input with get age info. So get age info gets called with the argument age. Now what will it return? It will return this string right here. So it will return you are, let's say, 5 years old if age was 5. Now print receives this string and it prints it. So print gets called with the argument you are 8 years old. Okay, all good. So back to our main function, we got the birth year, so we will simply need calculate and wait, comment first, so calculates and prints the user's age. Calculate and print and look back what we need, the birth year. Birth year is here, so just put birth year. How clean is this, guys? Now let's run our program and see if it works. So here we have a syntax error because in age calculator forgot to put what's this called, double colon. And if we look down, we have a little arrow indicating that we forgot it at multiple places. So let's correct that error. You need to use this double comma after the function parameter line, or function, not parameter, function stub, it's called, I think. So let's run it again, and now it looks like it works. So enter the name. I'm called Peter Messer. Your birth year is 1993. Okay, so we get a name error. Let's see what happened here. In line 40, so let's go to line 40. Calculate and print is not defined. Did you mean calculate and print age? So see the problem, guys. You need to read the error message to debug your program. Go to line 40 and see the problem is in our definition we used calculate and print age, whereas here we forgot the age. So we were calling a function that doesn't exist. Now if we run it again, it should be fixed. So please enter your name. Let's just do John Doe, 1950. And what we have is a type error. So line 14, let's go there. In age calculator, we have an unsupported operand types for minus. What's that operation called? Subtraction. So here we have int and string. So this means here's an int value, which means integer, like whole number, and string. So why is this a string, guys? It's birth here, it should be a number, right? Well, it should be a number, but the problem is when we are reading using input, everything is stored in a string. So even if the user enters a number, it won't be an int value, it will be a string value. Even though in the string, it will be like this. Look at the prompt, 1993 instead of 1993. So we need to convert this string value to this. And the way we do that is something called casting. So we need to cast. Now, where should we cast this, guys? Not in our age calculator, right? Because the age calculator works with numbers. So we don't want to like sort of reduce the functionality of this by only working on strings because this is a number. should be a number. So we need to change it in our actual main function where we input the birth year. And let's just, when we receive the input, let's just cast this to an int value, right? And then we should be okay. Let's try it again. Okay, and look, our program works. So we have finished with the task, and this should be maximum points. Now, one last thing, this is just a bonus, so if you are like already bored, feel free to tune out. But one last thing is that I'd like to cover is called abstraction. So with a function like hCalculator, it's not that useful if you sort of have this magic number of 2023 here hard-coded, because this way the function will only work in this year, and as soon as 2024 comes along, it will no longer be accurate. So what you want to do is actually give it another parameter, which is current year. And in age calculation, you want to remove birth year from the current year. Now, in our actual problem here, we can assume that the year is 2023 because this main function is just to solve this specific task right now. So we have all the useful functions, and this doesn't need to like be reused. This is just what we do right now, but it can be like changed or deleted. So here, obviously, since we changed the age calculator, we added one more parameter. We need to make sure that we give that parameter when we call the age calculator. Let's see where we call the age calculator function. So we do that in the calculate and print age function, right here. So here we have to give the current year to age calculator. But what's the problem here? We don't have the current year. So for age calculator to have the current year, calculate and print age also have to have the current year. And now in the calculated print age, we can put in 2023. So for current year, it was substitute in 2023 here. And if we run this, it should work the same as before. And it does. So guys, this was the task 1. Thank you for watching. And now I will cover task 2 after this. See you later.